so today our chamber chat is with our mayor, David Cook. And let's get started. And just at the very beginning, where were you born? Tell us a little bit about your family, if you have brothers, sisters.
I was, I guess, technically born in Fort Worth, but my family was living in Mansfield, so definitely proud to say I'm born and raised in Mansfield.
Okay.
And siblings, I had an older brother that was killed in a car accident back in 1990.
Okay.
And a younger brother that's 3 years younger, so
Okay.
I was in the middle.
Ah, middle child, okay. And your dad, your mom?
Mom and dad still live here in Mansfield. You know, been married. We just had their 50th year anniversary recently, so they're doing great health-wise, and just thank them for the upbringing they provided.
Okay. And during the years that you were in school, high school, and younger, what were some of the things that stand out to you as far as lessons learned or things that you still carry with you today?
Well, I think, it starts with the foundation at home. In today's world, it's not common to have, mom and dad in the same household throughout your upbringing. So I'm very appreciative of that, the foundation they laid, and just the discipline that was instilled. And as I got into high school, probably the two people that stand out to me are Parle. He was a high school counselor, of course. A lot of you just know him as the namesake of the stadium here locally, but and then there's a lot of people in the room that probably knew Mr. Anderson as well. And so he was definitely a mentor and a leader of mine. And the other would be former football coach Billy Whitman. He was, when I was in school, he was defense coordinator and became head coach later. He passed several years ago from Lou Gehrig disease. But I would say that both those guys had a big impact on me, and I would say Mr. Anderson more on a probably from the standpoint of traditions. He was very big on traditions and setting goals, and that's something that I still carry forward today. And then probably the one thing that I take away from Coach Whitman is just he probably never thought it was that big of a deal, but I just remember a day in practice where he just said every single day you're getting better or you're worse. You don't put his hands out like this and you never stay the same. You either get better or you get worse every single day, and so that's something that I try to strive for. Okay.
When you were in high school, did you have like an idea of what you wanted to do? I mean, were there things that, what was your ultimate desire there?
I would say, until my senior year, I didn't really have I don't recall anything specifically, but in my senior year, I really, started thinking that I wanted to be an attorney. And so, I remember having discussions with Mr. Anderson, and he knew the English brothers, which were Harold English and Roy English. Judge English was county judge for a long time, the state rep for this area for quite some time. And anyway, he set me up an opportunity to go meet with Harold English, who had an law office in Arlington over on West Pioneer. And it was really just an opportunity for me to get in there and be a runner and go for whatever needed to be done. And so just to kind of get the law firm environment and to see if it was in fact something that I wanted to do. And so I remember being my spring semester my senior year after football season. So I worked there my spring semester and then the summer before I started college. And it did give me affirmation that was a goal that I wanted to set and work towards.
Why did you pick attorney? Curiosity there.
I really don't know there's not a specific moment that I recall that that's why, but it's just I know that today what I can tell you is what I like about my job as a lawyer and as a mayor is it gives me an opportunity to help people in different situations, and so I think that's probably where it started.
Okay. And how did you pick so what law do you specialize in? Let's do that first.
Yeah, I'm board certified in family law, which means I deal with a lot of divorce and child custody, which can obviously be stressful situations, but I also do a lot of civil litigation, which is represent a lot of small businesses and either setting up companies or representing them in litigation. And then we have a title company, so obviously we do a lot of real estate work that comes out of a title company, in addition to providing closing services through the title company.
Okay. So after high school, where did you go? What happened?
So after school, I had kind of again, I keep talking about Mr. Anderson, but he was instrumental back, in the early years, and I told him I, kind of wanted to go to a smaller school that was far enough away to where your parents don't show up every single weekend. If you need to come home and, do something that you could do that. And so, I guess that's was kind of my criteria in choosing the school. And so Stephen F. Austin was a school that Mr. Anderson recommended that I visit. And so me and another friend that were graduating that year in '89, we took a trip down to Nacogdoches, and I never did go to any other visits because it was comfortable, and I liked the feel and the size of the university and students and things like that. And so I started there in the fall of 1989.
Okay.
So, at that point in time, I think, I just kind of started getting an interest in public service in addition to being an attorney. And so the major that I declared was public administration, and that's what I studied, and then I added a second minor in marketing and management. And so that was kind of the track that I got on, and fortunately I never did change that, and so I finished school a little bit early, a semester early. And then as I got out of college, I really wanted to try to find someone that did the things that I saw myself wanting to do, which was being a lawyer and being in public service. And so that's when I sought out Chris Harris, and who was a state senator at that time. He was elected. He was elected state rep in '84, and then became senator in '91. So he was already a senator. And so I remember my senior year of college, I was working for the local state representative there. I started on internship and then stayed on staff after the internship. And I just remember reaching out, and that was another opportunity to kind of see the public service. And so I was doing like constituent casework and things like that, and working with local people there, problems in the Nacogdoches area. And so that was another good experience. But it just kind of, again, gave me affirmation that I wanted to be in public service and be a lawyer. And so as I got ready to graduate in December of '92, I just remember I kept calling, and of course there was no email in December of '92, so I was faxing my resume on a regular basis. And of course it was back when you had the wax paper, you had to tear it off and all that good stuff. So, some of you young folks in here don't ever have that experience. Others of you are nodding your head and recall that. But there was a lady named Peggy Dotson, and she was the senator's chief of staff. And I know she had to get tired of calling, but I kept calling, and she'd tell me the same thing every single time. No, David, no position has opened up since the last time I talked to you. And she was always, very sweet and encouraging. And so I just, kept calling, and it didn't work out. It was one of those deals where it just wasn't going to work out. And so I, of course, had applied for law school in the spring of '93. I think it was early '93, probably January '93, and with the intent of starting law school in the fall of '93, and so that was the plan. And so I, just had, just different, there was no major, job doing like that because I was going to go to law school, and so I just, was looking for ways to make money, and so did that from like, I think I stayed in Nacogdoches from January until May, and then came home in May and worked. That summer I found out, certainly continued the manual labor. I remember working for a moving company. That's hard work. So I did that all summer, and which was a hot time to do it as well. But I remember doing that and just continuing to get prepared for law school, and I was continuing to call because it was really, in my mind, there was only one place for me to work, and it was for Senator Harris because he was an attorney and he was a state senator. And so I just, during that 8-month period, I did off and on just keep calling and faxing that resume. Anyway, so I'd kind of given up on it and was just going to start law school, and just, at that point decided it wasn't really going to work when I started law school, just because it would be hard to, try to work and go to law school at the same time. And so I decided just to kind of forego it and just, focus on school at that point in time. And then just out of the blue, I remember, and that's back when you had a car phone, not a cell phone, but a car phone was installed in the car, and I remember getting a call, literally I was going to go to attend school in the evenings, but literally the morning that I was starting law school, that evening, I got a call from this bolsterous voice that, said, I hear you want to go to work for me. And so, I instantly knew it could only be one person. The only thing he introduced himself, he just said, I hear you want to go to work for me. And I was like, yes, sir. And he's like, well, why don't you come talk to me about that? And I said, okay. And when are you going to do that? And he said, how about right now? And I was 10 minutes away from his office because I was just happened to be in the area. And so I went straight to his office.
Because you were stalking.
Yeah, that's probably the real story. Yeah, so went down and met with him and told him why I thought it was instrumental in me working for him, and he said, all right, let's get you started. And then I remember Chris, if you knew him, was very loud and, like I said, boisterous. So I remember him, so it sounds like, that Mike certainly knew him, but I just remember him yelling across the office, Peggy! And I was like, oh no, that's that lady that I just, talking about stalking. I was stalking her for 8 months, and I just remember her coming in and just smiling from ear to ear. And she was happy that I finally got a position, and so she got me started, and the rest was history. He asked me how much I wanted to work, and I said, well, I'm just starting law school tonight, but I mean, I would guess like 15 or 20 hours a week, at least starting out, till I get a feel for how much time school's going to take and studying and that sort of thing. And so that, I think, lasted for about 2 weeks, and then it just became full time, where I would start at 8:30, and I'd have to just race out at like 5:45 to drive to Irving. The law school was in Irving. It was later acquired by Texas Wesleyan Law School, and then now it's Texas A&M University School of Law. But the law school at the time that I was attending, it was across the street from the old Texas Stadium in Irving at 183, and so it was just a daily grind where I would slip out the last second and slip into my seat in law school. But I think it was like what I had hoped was, if I was working in a law office and actually learning hands-on applicable stuff, it would be possible to work and go to law school at the same time. But if you were just working in an unrelated field, you couldn't, in my opinion, you couldn't work 40 hours as a server or something like that and still go to law school. But it gave me the opportunity to at least learn, even if it was just recognizing names of legal terms and things like that. So it was a great experience, and wouldn't change anything about that.
Okay. So you've got some pretty significant people that made an impact in your life. What were some of the things that, if you were to say either in one word or a sentence, from R.L. Anderson and Chris Harris, what are the things that you learned or took from them that you still use today?
I think from the senator would just be for not giving up. Just wasn't really anything that he would necessarily say, but just the observations that I had. It's like when Mike could obviously agree with that. When he got into something, he was going to see it through. And so I would say that's probably just watching him, the tenacity that he had in doing whatever he set his mind to was probably what I would say stuck with me the most with him. And then with Mr. Anderson, like I said, he was very big on tradition and doing things for the right reason, and a very, very good Christian man. And just let it, he had started a Christmas project many years ago. I think when I was in school, he had been with the school district. I remember, because the football stadium had just been named after him, and he'd been there 33 years at that point in time. That was back in 88 or 89, probably 88. And so, he had started a Christmas project where, they would, take donations and raise money, and then, buy gifts for the less fortunate, and then visit nursing homes. And so that's something that has probably, one of the biggest traditions that I participated in with him that we do as a family now. We just did our 15th year of a similar project. We just go buy gifts for nursing home, and then have several families up and on the West Broad area that we as a group, family and friends. But I modeled it after what the project. So I would say that's probably, he was great. He would, even when I was in school, he would send care packages or just inspirational messages and things like that. So just the commitment to helping people. That's,
And how did you meet him? What's the connection there that got that?
you know, if you knew him, he just, you know, I remember people saying, oh, you know, you're one of Anderson's favorites or whatever, and he sought people out. I don't know why, how he picked them or whatever, but he just had a group, and the group was people that he would ask to become like office aides, and then also to participate in that. It was called the Stephen Lake Memorial Project, and named after someone that had passed away from the district. And, so he would, just kind of, seek you out. And so at the beginning of my junior year, he, asked me to meet with him, and just, obviously I was, honored to get to know him, and just really appreciated the person that he was.
So you've had some really good mentors in your life.
Absolutely.
Okay. And interesting too that you had such a passion for what it is that you wanted. To stick with it, the stalking that you did. What you got.
Before stalking was cool.
Yeah, what you set out to do. Yeah. So those are things that are lessons to learn that others can take
Sure.
from you.
Yeah, I think like I said, I think it's important to set goals and then set a plan and then stick to the plan. It certainly worked out the way I hoped that it would.
Yeah. Now you have a family.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Tanya and I have been married 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I have a daughter that, prior marriage, Cecily. She graduated from A&M last May, and then started their graduate program in commercial real estate.
Okay.
So she just started that in the fall of 17. So she'll be done in December of 18, so she'll get about another year of school. And then Tanya has 3 from a prior marriage, so we have 4 total children.
Mm-hmm.
And, the oldest 2 are married.
Mm-hmm.
And Stefan is in law school, actually. So he's recently decided to go to law school, and he's in his 2nd year, so he's about halfway through law school. And then Blake is, her and her husband live in Tulsa. He's where he's from. And then Christian is the youngest, and basically he'll finish in December of this year as well from University of Oklahoma.
Okay.
Which is where Blake and Christian are Oklahoma. So we kind of had the old Southwest Conference taken care of, where we had Texas A&M, and then Stephen went to Texas Tech, and then Christian and Blake were OU, and of course Cecily at A&M. So.
Now, I know you don't have a lot of free time. You stay very busy with everything that you're involved in, because you're involved in a lot of stuff. But when you do have free time, what do you do?
Try to rest. I enjoy working out, just staying active and physically fit. I don't want to say I'm a runner, but I jog on a regular basis, kind of get you out. I like to run outside, even kind of crazy when it's weather like this. When it gets into single digits, I don't get out. But if it's 20 degrees is fine. I figured out if you had the right gear, it's actually easier to run in colder weather than it is hotter weather for sure.
Yeah.
So that's something that I like to. I get up early in the mornings and work out and start, try to get my physical exercise in before I start, the stressful stuff.
So in your years of practicing law, what are some things that you've learned? About people.
Yeah, just people. Yeah, I think that people want to be heard, and so I think it's important that you listen. So you hear, just be quick to listen, slow to speak, and if you carry that into to practice it, as a lawyer, it certainly helps, because a lot of times if you cut somebody off before they get an opportunity to lay out how they feel, what the problem is, and they're going to receive what you're telling them better, as opposed to if you just cut them off and start telling them what they need to do. It's better if you let them get out what the problem is and what they feel, how they just let something, how they've been wronged, and so they, like I said, they want to be heard, whether it's a legal problem or mayor issue or city council. Obviously, we deal with a lot of different challenges, and so I think, like I said, I think in both of those areas, it's important to stop and listen.
Okay. So, in overall, what would be, if you had a motto or a theme that you live by, what would that be?
I would say, treat others the way you want to be treated, and it's kind of, it's kind of cliche with being the golden rule, but I think it'll get you, where you need to be and where you want to be, if you just follow that. And I think that, like I said, I think if, people are going to respond most of the time, not always. There are certainly exceptions, and certainly not always the case, but I think more times than not, people are going to respond based upon how you approach them or how you respond to them. And so I think that's what again, just try to listen and before you jump to conclusions, and trying to start. Because I usually try to fix things, and sometimes
It's that man thing.
sometimes
Yeah.
it is. I mean, because Tanya, sometimes she's like, I'm not asking you to do anything. I just need you to listen.
That's right. Just listen.
So I think that's wise to make sure that you are a good listener.
What do you have any future goals that you would ever want to share, or anything that you look at that you go, okay, this is what's next?
Well, I mean, I think, like I said, early on my goal was public service, and not to get into politics. And so that's not what we're doing today, and I'm totally fine with that. But when I went to work, like I said, when I was seeking out working for Senator Harris, it was because I wanted to be a lawyer and I wanted to be in public service, and so I started working for him in September of 1993, and there was a time in 1996 where there was an open seat for kind of Arlington. I think it had a little bit of the Mansfield area in it. It did have part of the Mansfield area in it, and so Chris had actually encouraged me to consider running at that time, and for that state rep position, and ultimately decided not to after looking at the field. There was a lot of people that got involved, but so I mean, that was obviously a goal, was to get into public service. And so in 2008, obviously that's when there was a petition for recall of the mayor at that time, and I had some people ask me, and some people that had talked with the senator about it, and so he and I talked, and thought it would be a good opportunity for me to work in my hometown and try to make a difference locally, and so I've enjoyed that, and look forward to continuing to do that. But, there may be if opportunities arise at some point in the future. I mean, the state legislature is something that I've always been intrigued by.
Well, yeah, I would think that once you kind of start that life, if you enjoy it, you want to stay in it, so you want to keep,
Enjoy it most of the time.
yeah. It's gotten a little tricky for almost anybody these days.
Really, absolutely.
Yeah. So, so that's something that, how did you decide that, I mean, okay, so attorney, and usually that there's a progression for that, but how did you decide that public service was, I mean, what was it that you said? I mean, how does anyone say, I want to be a politician? Yeah. I mean, what's the driving force there?
That's why you hear me say public service.
I know. Well,
like I said, I think, a few minutes ago I said, it's what intrigued me, and I can't really ascertain one specific thing, but I think, especially, back in the, early 90s, or even probably in the 70s and 80s, probably what I should say. I mean, for me, it was in the early 90s, but in the 70s and 80s, if you look at the makeup of the legislature, it was dominated by attorneys. Just I don't say dominated, but I mean,
yes.
the majority, were certainly there were a lot of lawyers involved, and obviously you're making laws, and so I think that's not the same today. I mean, I think there's a far less percentage of attorneys in the legislature than there was in the 70s and 80s and 90s, and so. But I mean, if you go back in time and look at it from a historical perspective, I mean, that's probably what it was. I mean, I think a lot of times those two went hand in hand, and so it was just, it was kind of for me, it was just the two were locked together.
Okay. And the mentoring thing, has that something that you've done as well? I mean, do you, since you see, I mean, you benefited so greatly from it that it's.
Yeah, I mean, I have looked, just to try to keep my eyes open and not necessarily seek it out, but make sure that if there is a situation like that, where although it took the stalking and all of that, but to get it done, but make sure that if there is a situation like that, that you pay it forward. And there was a situation similar to that. young man that works for us now. He had moved here from Arkansas, of all places. And he had moved here just before his senior year. And so I remember, I had this young person who was in high school wanting to meet with me. And so, of course, I met with him, and I was impressed with his desire to jump in. And really, he was kind of a lot of things that I remembered about myself, as far as forward thinking and planning and making goals and things like that. And he was interested in the political. He was interested in the political world, and he was interested in law school, and asked me if there'd be a place for him to whether shadowing or working part-time or whatever it may be. And so I challenged him. I said, look, if you can go to Ben Barber and get, because he was wanting to work, like I said, it was really impressive because his family moved here in June or July. I think it was probably late July when I met with him. So it was like he immediately sought me out to meet with me, and I met with him, and I didn't just want to just make it easy for him, but if he were going to be committed to it, then I'd see if I could help. And so I said, if you can get, if you can go to Ben Barber and get an internship approved, or something of that sort, because they didn't have anything exactly for a legal intern or anything like that at that time. And so I didn't know if I'd ever see him again or not, but it was the next week I was getting a phone call from Ben Barber, one of the instructors over there, Miss Wilkins, I believe her name was. And she said she had met with this young man, and she understood that I had met with this young man, and that they were excited about possibility of trying to make something like that work, and would I be interested in sponsoring him and that sort of thing. And so anyway, so he was 17 at that time, and it was 23 I'd say at this time. So he's been with us about 6 years. He's still working, and he has decided not to go to law school, but he's very active in the political arena, and he's kind of shifted his focus to where he wants to be more in the like a political, not wants to be. He's jumped into that field of being a political consultant, and doing well. So it's been good to see him, his maturity and his growth, and exciting to kind of have a similar track to what I was providing.
Yeah.
So we've had other, certainly had other internships that just were more focused on hey, I just want to work there this summer for 8 weeks and things like that. But I would say that particular story probably matches mine the most.
Okay. We've got about 10 minutes or so. Anybody want to ask a question related to what we've talked about?
What was your biggest accomplishment as mayor?
There you go.
Well, that's a we thing, not a me thing. So I would say the city's biggest accomplishment over the last, it's almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years in May. I think probably is going to, if you were to go 10 years forward and look back, I think the biggest accomplishment would be the extension of Highway 360. I think it's going to have a major impact on the future of Mansfield. And I just played a small part, so not taking credit. Senator Harris is just in that regard, as well. We were fortunate enough to get not the entire roadway, but the Mansfield portion of the roadway named after Senator Harris, and so it'll be named after him. Supposed to open April 2nd, I'm told, but looking out there, I don't see how that's possible. I talked to him yesterday again, because I'd gotten a call from Star Telegram. He was saying the same thing. I'm being told the beginning of April, and I said, I'm being told April 2nd we're going to be on that roadway, we're going to be cutting the ribbon, and so I called NTTA, and she's still verifying that date, but of course that's based upon what TxDOT is telling her, which is based upon what Abram, the contractor, is telling TxDOT. So who knows? We'll see. Mike?
Two comments and then a question. First comment is on your mentors. I think you had excellent choices. For those that don't know, Arnold Anderson was very instrumental. We only have one high school, and he was instrumental in getting military academy appointments. I asked him one day, my son ended up going to Naval Academy, and I asked him one day how many he had gotten in. It was over 60.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
we was 4A high school back in those days, and out of Matt's class, there were 3 who got appointments out of that class. The other mentor, Chris Harris, he's David's not playing up Dave, playing up Chris the way it really ought to be. Chris was an action person. Without him, 360 would have never happened, in my opinion.
I agree.
And I was on the city council, and I remember going to a meeting at Chris's office, and it was leaders in the Metroplex. I'm a city councilman from little old Mansfield, and this is all major players, and I'm over in the corner of the room, and Chris is taking in all the input, and I'm just trying to speck on the wall, you know. And out of the blue, Chris says, "Chief Lehman, is Mansfield for this?" And I said, "Yes, we are, sir." He said, "Everybody in this room, in case you don't know, he's a councilman on my law partner's firm. So if Mansfield don't like this, it's not going to happen." And I mean, after that meeting, everybody come, "Hey, you know." My question is, what do you see ahead for Mansfield in the next 5, 10, 15 years?
I think, obviously right now is a great time to be in Mansfield. If you're a small business, if you're looking for a great place to live, you're looking for park systems, I think it's just going to continue, and we just have to be good stewards and make sure that, that we don't grow just for the sake of growing. We got to make sure that, the growth that we have is good growth, it's quality growth, and you hear that all the time, but it's true. We got to make sure that, that as we continue to grow, we got to make sure that the developments that are coming to Mansfield, make sure that they're paying for themselves. And I know that's kind of hard to sometimes put your arms around, but we're fortunate that we have a city leadership team, not from the city council's perspective. From the day-to-day management is obviously, we're ran by the city manager and former government. And we're fortunate we've had a team that's been in place, 30 plus years. And, a theme that they developed many years ago is growth pays for growth. And in Mansfield, growth must pay for growth. And so you got to make sure that when you're, in my opinion, you got to make sure when you're reviewing a development that it's a development that can pay for all the necessary infrastructure that's necessary to make that development. And so that's how I think the city council, that you were on, Mike, a few years ago, and the city council we have in place today, I think we use that as a focus. And so I think that you're going to see more of the same. Obviously, the population is going to continue to increase, and it's one of those things where, we all want the shops abroad and other developments to be, the best that they can possibly be. But, one thing I've certainly learned over 10 years is, those developers that, contrary to, public opinion out there, that we're out there, as a city, cherry picking the businesses that we want. We can do everything we can do to make Mansfield attractive, but at the end of the day, you've got a business guy making a decision if he is going to bring that company to Mansfield. And so we can do everything we can do from an infrastructure standpoint and from, household median income. Obviously those things are the things that get businesses interest for Mansfield, and we're doing very well. We're, far above the, national average and county average. And, so we're doing things that, I think the right way in Mansfield, but we have to keep focusing on that if we're going to, attract, the retail that I know that everybody wants. It's getting, less and less necessary to drive to Fort Worth or to Arlington or things like that. And tell a lot of people looking around the room. I think that's a goal that we all share, is that we want to stay right here in the Mansfield bubble.
Yeah, that's what
so I hear that term often. And so, we just got to make sure that as we develop, that we make sure that the growth, that, the projects that are being approved can sustain themselves from an infrastructure standpoint.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
How do you split your time between being mayor, attorney, and then
That's a good one.
Pull this out, whatever that says. So,
without relying on your phone?
so I use that with, I speak to kids quite often. They think I'm a rock star in second grade, and I guess when they learn about, city government, and they just think, the mayor is the best thing since sliced bread. So if I need a boost, if I'm having a bad day, I just go to the elementary schools. And they can give you what you need. They'll pump you up. But even with speaking with them, I usually show my phone and just talk about the importance of organization. I think it's very important to be detail oriented and be organized in order to be able to do what is necessary. I know we're all busy, but I think if the smarter you work, the more efficient and productive you're going to be. And so it really is a matter of having good people helping you stay organized, and because it is it can be difficult to make sure that you know, whatever I'm having to do in the city is, you know, is known in my law office, and making sure that, you know, well, he can't go there because he's going to be in court, and he can't go to this meeting and things like that. So, you know, I think, you know, the iPhone, you know, certainly is a, you know, is a, it's like one of those absolutely necessary evils, and sometimes you just got to put it down. And, you know, for, you know, someone recently talked about, you know, sometimes you just got to turn it off and leave it in the car so that you don't get, you know, like in a meeting like this, you want to make sure that you're not being distracted by, you know, that buzz. You know, it's not out loud. You hear that buzz, you're like, oh, man, what am I missing next, or where am I supposed to be next? So I would just say that the way I get it done is making sure I stay organized and making sure that everything's, you know, up to date. You know, in this, you know, day and age, you're able to, you know, to have real time, you know, on your, you know, planning from a planning perspective.
Well, and if you do that, that enables you to be in the present, in the
Right.
moment, without stressing about it.
Right. Well, I don't know about that part. But it does make it,
Yeah, it makes it a little
it's
bit.
absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
Someone else have a question? I'm sorry.
Oh, he did? Aw.
Must've been a good one.
Thanks a lot.
Anybody else? Yes.
Would you say there's a city with Mansfield being as young as it is, I could say in development stages, there's a city in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that Mansfield looks to that says they did it right, let's kind of emulate some of the things they did?
Well, I think that's, you know, I don't know that we do that necessarily as a city, but I know that as individuals, you certainly do. I mean, like, you know, I know that Mike and I were, you know, when we served on council together, Daryl and I, you know, which was the thing was when Mike was there, you know, if you're looking at, say, you know, obviously we want to make sure that we have the absolutely best police force, which I wholeheartedly believe that we do. And so that's something where you're gonna look at what other cities are doing, pay rates and ranges, and make sure that you're being competitive. And so, yeah, you're gonna certainly look at, you know, salary comparisons and things like that. You know, so we might ask staff, say, you know, we'd like for you to do a survey, and they're gonna pick the cities that they want. But, you know, as Daryl and Terry and Mike can tell you, you know, after we look at the list as a council, you know, there's 7 of us, and all 7 of us may have a different opinion. Well, we really think it's more like this. And I would say a city that I often look at for things like that is Flower Mound, and I think Flower Mound I think it's a good quality city, and I think it's very comparable in size to Mansfield. I mean, the population is spot on with us, and so they've done some good things. And not to say that I emulate Mansfield after Flower Mound, I won't be misquoted, but I would say that in my opinion, they're a good city to compare Mansfield to. Is, you know, if you're wanting to see what a city of our size is paying a police officer or a firefighter, or, you know, what regulations do they, like on, you know, when we went through the oil and gas industry, that was certainly there was, you know, development in Flower Mound that around the, you know, rigs and things like that. They were, you know, a city that I would look at to see what, you know, what they were doing up there, because just want to, you know, obviously you can look around and pick and choose what one city is doing right or wrong, and, you know, model it after. So it's definitely a good question, and certainly happens, but I'd say it's not necessarily one city. It's going to be different cities for different reasons, and like whether or not it's a quality control, you know, issue on, you know, construction or, you know, things like that. You may look at a city, you know, like, you know, whether it's, you know, Flower Mound or South Lake or things like that, but it certainly is helpful to look at other cities and see how to do things right, or sometimes how not to do things wrong.
I know from a business perspective, one of the biggest challenges that most businesses have today is staying up with technology. How does a city look at that and be so forward thinking with all the things and how fast it's moving? That's got to be a huge thing too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's, you know, that's, you know, certainly an issue that our, you know, city manager is charged with and doing, but it's absolutely, I mean, like, we're talking about cybersecurity and, you know, and obviously the IRS, you know, our city is, you know, obviously run just like a business, and so, you know, we got to make sure that we're up with OPEG and, you know, all the different.
Well, even in your law firm, I mean, just think about the things, how technology it just affects everything today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it's being replaced so quickly.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like on the treadmill. It's always, you know, it's always right, you know, right before you. So you got to keep your eye on it.
Okay, guys, we're going to close it up, and you've got about another 15 minutes to kind of mill around and visit, and David may stay for about 5 minutes or so. So if you want to pull him aside, feel free, and he'll chit-chat with you. And I appreciate you coming, and the next one we will do will be not next month, but the month after, and that's with John Phillips. So thank you all for coming. Have a great day. Okay?
Yeah.